Good morning, ninth grade.
Welcome to Thursday. We made it to the end of our week. We are on our final poem. If you pull up the slides for the day, you will see the following. So, choice analysis, I can choose a poem and use questions to reflect on the poem's message. So today you will have an option of one of two poems to select and then use guiding questions to help you analyze that poem's deeper meaning. Regardless of the poem that you choose, the questions to analyze the poem are exactly the same.
Feel free to take a quiet, mindful minute for yourself. Even if you're not in a quiet place, you can still take a minute to just sit still and close your eyes.
Today's task. This week we've focused on simile, metaphor, onomatopoeia, and alliteration. Today you have the opportunity to choose one of two poems, like I said, that you would like to look closely at, and you will be doing the following. Identifying the poetic device inside the poem that's used, reflecting on the poem's message, and analyzing the poem as a whole. So you've got two options. One is on slide 4 and one is on slide 5. Option number 1 is Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. And option number 2 is Dream Variations by Langston Hughes.
We're going to read both of these poems for you now. I encourage you to also read both poems out loud before you pick one.
Yeah.
Okay? You don't have to answer all of the questions and then decide which poem you want to use, but I would like you to just focus on what the poem sounds like out loud before you pick one. So I'll read Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right.
You don't have to put the slide up. I know it by heart.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh,
The rhyme scheme helps a lot
wait, why do you know it by heart?
because I really like Robert Frost.
Let's pause the instruction and do an interview with Mr. Allen. Mr. Allen, how is it that you know this poem by heart?
Well, they taught this poem to me in high school. This has been a
In the
very popular.
1800s, they taught this poem?
Yeah, this poem was written a long, long time ago. So even when I was young, this poem was still old. And I like it a lot. There's a neat trick in Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening. If you examine the rhyme scheme, you'll see that the third line of every stanza introduces the rhyme scheme of the next stanza. Uh, but we're not asking you to investigate that as part of our questions. The rhyme scheme of a poem is about the experience of it and not the message of it usually, so you don't have to dig into that at all. But it's just a neat little trick that Robert Frost pulls, and it also makes it easy to remember what the next stanza's rhyme will be.
Yeah.
And you'll see that as I read. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. These woods are lovely, dark, and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
Option 2, Dream Variations by Langston Hughes. To fling my arms wide in some place of the sun, to whirl and to dance till the white day is done, then rest at cool evening beneath a tall tree while night comes on gently, dark like me, that is my dream. To fling my arms wide in the face of the sun, dance, whirl, whirl, till the quick day is done. Rest at pale evening, a tall, slim tree, night coming tenderly, black like me.
Take the time to read both poems again, even if you're just whispering. It changes the meaning hearing the words out loud.
100%. All right, so regardless of which poem you choose, these are the 4 questions that you're going to apply in analyzing this poem. Number 1, find one poetic device in the poem that you choose. Copy the line from the poem and then tell us what poetic device is that. We went over 4 this week: alliteration, onomatopoeia, metaphor, and simile. So find one of those 4 in the poem that you choose and explain which one it is. And then just tell us one sentence that explains how the device is effective in the poem, meaning how is that device used and what's the impact that that device has on the poem.
Question 2, what is the tone of the poem? What images or words help to create that tone? Remember, the tone is it's how the poet feels about this subject. So how do you think the poet feels about this poem? That's the tone.
Not how you feel, that's the mood.
Yeah.
What is, number 3, what is your overall opinion or impression of the poem? If you want to include in there like the reason that you chose this specific poem, that would be a good place to do that. And then number 4, out of all 4 poems that we read this week, which is your favorite poem and why? So the first poem we read was Introduction to Poetry. The second poem we read was Honky Tonk in Cleveland, Ohio. Yesterday we read Thumbprint. And then today makes that 4th poem, either Dream Variations or the Robert Frost Snowy Woods. So out of all 4, which did you like best, and tell us why?
If you are in the live session with us, if you had been in the live session with us, we will have gone through these questions as a class. Since you're doing this independently, please take your time to answer these 4 questions completely. The worksheet looks a little bit different than the questions here, and that'll give you a little bit more guidance as to how to answer them.
All right, guys, great job this week, and let us know if you need anything at all.
And I'll be here at the 1:30 Google Meetup with any questions about any of this week's or last week's assignments.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.